So the Chicago Bears just quietly hinted at a really huge move. Spoiler alert, the move is obviously during the NFL draft. And if we're being honest, experts across the board speculating as to who the Chicago Bears are going to pick with their 10th overall pick. It's exactly that. It's speculation. No one knows for sure. But it is so nice to finally get some concrete information to act on. And I'm just going to get to it here. Head coach Ben Johnson was just spotted at the University of Michigan Pro Day. Now, guys, this is significant because he has not been spotted at any other pro days for any other teams, and the Bears are really giving us a strong public hint. It's also interesting that it wasn't really publicized really at all. I had to dig a little bit. And also the player that I believe that the Bears are targeting is Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham. Now, Graham's being listed by a lot of guys as being labeled as a player who may drop all the way to 10th overall where the Bears pick. And it's mainly because a lot of teams are looking at some nitpicky athletic measurables instead of just trusting the eye test. And this guy absolutely wreaked havoc on offensive lines while at the University of Michigan. The guy's just a beast, just a nonstop motor. I think he would fit in perfectly with what Dennis Allen likes to do with his defenses. So speaking of Dennis Allen, even more interesting, Dennis Allen was with head coach Ben Johnson as well. Michigan has 4 potential first-round picks, and when the head coach attends a pro day, that should open our eyes. It's a telling indication that's where the team is heading. Now, defensive tackle Mason Graham and corner Will Johnson, these are the for sure first-rounders in my book. Graham's absolutely packing on muscle during this offseason. He's being called a can't-miss prospect in this draft as well. The guy weighed in at 326 pounds, so he's hitting the gym. He's putting on mass. Also, we're looking at Kenneth Grant being a day 1 or day 2 pick. This guy's one of my favorite players in the whole draft. Interesting enough as well, tight end Colston Loveland. He's a player of interest. We all know what Ben Johnson did with Sam Laporta. Now, many are linking Tyler Warren from Penn State as the target for the Bears with our number 10 pick. I would argue that although Warren is the best player this year at tight end, I'm not going to argue with that. Loveland isn't far off. He's very closely the second choice. Would love to see him come to Hallis Hall as well. So out of Michigan, the players scouted will likely be day 1 or day 2 picks. And I really think the Bears are leaning towards defense now. And that's with them pulling the trigger at running back, tight end, offensive lineman, using these 2 seconds in our third to address those other needs as well. And I think that's a really important thing that we need to do. But I don't think we should be forced to go offensive line with the number 10 overall. Unless Will Campbell drops, that's a consideration. There is not another offensive lineman in this draft that's worthy of a top 10 pick. So let's just keep going a little bit. And I want to talk about Dennis Allen being there as well. GM Ryan Poles, he has a final say, but he's allowing tons of input from these coaches, especially from Ben Johnson. GM Ryan Poles greatly using his input. You can tell by the different types of players that are coming to Hallis Hall, the total prioritization of the offensive line with this revamp, bringing in 3 really good free agents to fill out the line. And Dennis Allen has a lot of pull in the building. And he also believes in a stout interior of his defensive lines. Grady Jarrett's fun at defensive tackle, but the guy's just a placeholder for a year or 2, let's be honest. And let's kind of go into Dennis Allen's history. He went Brian Breezy, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and Sheldon Rankins. Both of these guys were drafted in the first round at defensive tackle when Dennis Allen was in charge in New Orleans. I think Mason Graham is an obvious choice if he falls. I'd even put Will Johnson into the conversation at 10th overall because the guy is just a flawless press cover corner. Dennis Allen loves using press coverage with his corners in his scheme. He would be a great fit as well. Now, let's kind of move forward looking at what Chicago's history is with head coaches attending pro days and how that influences who Chicago drafts in the first round. In 2021, We had Matt Nagy being spotted at the Ohio State Pro Day, personally watching Justin Fields. Matt Eberflus, he attended the USC Pro Day to watch Caleb Williams last year. And these head coaches don't go around attending pro days. This is important when they attend in person. And it stands to reason that Ben Johnson, he would want to be in person to watch any prospect he and GM Ryan Poles decide to pull the trigger on as a serious target with the 10th overall pick. Kind of some specifics on Mason Graham. Graham earned second-team All-American and two-time All-Big Ten honors during his 3 seasons at the University of Michigan, won a national championship. We're looking at 6'3", 320 pounds. Now he's at 326. He recorded 3.5 sacks in 2024 and 9 sacks for his college career. We're not going to focus on sack statistics. I'm going to get to that. Also, Mel Kiper loves the guy. Let's be honest, Mel Kiper loves a lot of guys, but this is what he specifically had to say about Mason Graham. I love Graham's technique. His leverage gives him an advantage at the point of attack, and interior offensive linemen struggle with his power and his quickness. He's got a strong and active hand placement. He provides effective against the run and the pass from inside. He had 2 sacks against Minnesota in September, but managed just 1.5 the rest of the season. I mean, we're going to talk about that. The real story on this guy is how many times he actually gets to the quarterback. But then if we look as well, looking at what Ryan Poles had to say during this offseason, he made it very clear during his press conference earlier that the Bears, they need to find a game-changing defensive tackle, a guy that can help open up opportunities for defensive ends. It was originally thought that it'd take a miracle for Graham to be on the board at number 10, but now word is that teams might pass on him due to physical measurables outside of his production. In a vacuum, his physical tools aren't absolutely elite, but he's just so instinctual, just such a crazy motor. And when he was with the University of Michigan, top tier competition every single week. I think Mason Graham is the pick if he's there at number 10. I think you run to the podium if you're the Chicago Bears. And also, I love how this has been set up that the Chicago Bears can just take the best player available at 10th overall. That's such a luxury. I know I was talking about Ashton Genty. There are so many other backs available in day 2 and day 3. Those draft days, I think you've got guys like Scadaboo. You've got guys like Omarion Hampton. He probably won't drop out of the first round. You've got Judkins. You've got Trey Henderson out of Ohio State. You've got the guy out of Kansas. You've got Caleb out of Kansas. Caleb Johnson, I believe, yes. Just so many quality backs in this NFL draft. And once again, I don't think there's a single offensive tackle, offensive guard that's worthy of a first-round pick. Then maybe Will Campbell. What a decision if Will Campbell's sitting there or if Graham's sitting there at our 10th pick overall. I think you can't go super wrong with either, but I would go Mason Graham and then hit the offensive line heavy in this NFL draft. And also we need a running back. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. You always do. Bear down. And have a good day. We'll talk tomorrow.